call Jacinda Ardern.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to speak specifically to Clause 13. I haven't had an opportunity to speak to this clause, which does focus on the revocation of membership or of fellowship, and it is set out in Section 18, Subclause 2. And it is very specific, but I think, as my colleagues have alluded to, we do hold some concerns over this clause, and whether or not perhaps we've missed an opportunity here, and I'd like to hear the member and the Chair's contribution on this. Perhaps I think it will take a lengthy contribution to respond to details are important on this, because as my colleagues have raised, although this particular clause only amends Section 18, Subclause 2, by omitting Academy Council and substituting Academy Executive Council, that does very little to allay the concerns that members here have over whether or not the revocation of membership or fellowship is a robust procedure in and of itself. So I'd like to know from the member and the Chair, what is it that the use of the word substitution of the word council with executive committee represents? Is this a broadening of the panel who makes the decision over revocation? Would this, for instance, executive committee include other members who might not be a member of the council but may have specialist knowledge? For instance, if we're talking about a controversial revocation, would it be possible to co-op a lawyer, for instance, onto the Academy Executive Committee as opposed to the existing Academy Council? Because as my colleagues have outlined, there is the potential here embedded within this clause for quite a significant controversy. Now, although we haven't been able to find any examples of revocation of membership or fellowship, there is the potential that if someone were to lose their weighty title within the Royal Society, that could create great waves. Second point I want to raise is that this clause doesn't include a great amount of transparency around the process for a member. It's very clear within the public details of the Royal Society the very onerous process you must go through in order to become a member or a recognised fellow, but there isn't that kind of transparency over what happens if you have that role or membership removed from you. And I think that's an omission. Probably it's contained somewhere within the Royal Society's membership guidelines, but I think it would be helpful if that were made public. And I know that there are many people who would be very interested to know what would it take for Sir Paul Callaghan to have his role as a fellow removed. In fact, I've heard of people who have wanted to find this information in the past and have been unable to. I also want to raise the possibility, what kind of criteria would it take to have a revocation of your membership? For instance, we've had it raised that a revocation may, for instance, be rendered if, for instance, it was thought that you would teach in schools. What's it called again, President Bush's favourite? Creationism. My question is, given that there's an expert panel within the Royal Society on climate change, if you were a climate change denier, someone like Rodney Hyde, for example, we're blessed with the members' presence in the House, if Rodney Hyde became an honorary member of the Royal Society and then tried to establish within Parliament a select committee to deny climate change, which I actually believe happened in real life, would that be an example of where someone would lose their membership or their fellowship? That's really, I think, a question that we should have answered, because is it simply that you bring in the degradation of the Royal Society? Could it be that you act in a way unbecoming of the Royal Society? Is behaviour significant enough under Clause 13 to be judged by the new Academy Executive Committee, which is what this clause establishes? Would it be sufficient if your behaviour were poor to have your membership revoked? Now, people have referred to the honourable role that the Royal Society has, this idea that they're perceived to be hold great integrity, and they are. I imagine they'd be very cautious to protect that brand. Does this clause allow the Academy Executive Committee the ability to disbar, as it were, someone who behaved in a way unbecoming of the Royal Society? And what would that behaviour include? an appearance on Dancing with the Stars. I wouldn't want to speculate, but there could be a range of options that would deem to be behaviour unbecoming of the Royal Society.